Well, good evening, everybody. I'm Ron Olesko from WFUFM and folkmusicnotebook.com, 24/7 internet channel that is devoted to folk music, both traditional and contemporary. And I am so honored to be here tonight. Um, Abbie is a very special friend and an incredible musician, as I'm sure all of you out there know. Um, what we're doing tonight is a little bit of an interview. We have some questions that a number of her Patreon patrons asked, and I have a few questions as well that we'll be talking to her about. Coming up this Saturday, Abbie is planning a live stream event. It is going to start at 3 p.m. this Saturday, and it's going to be a full album live stream of her last album, Wishes on a Neon Sign. And we're going to talk to Abbie about that album in just a second. We're also going to talk to her about what she's been working on. We have a new album that's in the process. So I think Abbie will tell us that. And we'll take some of the questions that our Patreon fans have asked. And if you have a question that you would like to ask Abbie, if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, just type something in the chat column and we can bring that up to with Abbie. I first met Abbie nearly 20 years ago. It's hard to believe. Neither one of us have aged a bit, I can tell you that. But I met her at a folk music conference, the Northeast Regional Folk Music Conference, and Abbie was performing in what they call guerrilla showcases. It was late at night. She was in a room, and all of a sudden, I'm walking down a hall. I hear this voice, and I just had to step in. I was enthralled. I can even remember the song she was singing, Long Island Cowboy. It's just one of my favorites of hers. And watching her grow in those years, becoming a founding member of Red Molly and some incredible albums that she's put together, it's just been fascinating. So I am pleased to welcome to her own Patreon page, Abbie Gardner. Abbie, how you doing?
Oh my gosh, Ron, what a wonderful intro. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's so good to see you again. You know, you were one of the last real people I saw before the pandemic hit. You performed a great show at Ethical Brew in Teaneck. And shortly after that, the pandemic hit, and now we've all been indoors. We've learned new tools like StreamYard and Zoom, and well, here we are tonight. How have you been, first of all? You handled the pandemic well?
I mean, I think I've had ups and downs just like everybody else. You know, it has been a challenge for sure. But it's made me grow in some ways that I'm really starting to appreciate more and more, especially when I get down. I start thinking, wait a second, I never would have learned this or this. I wouldn't have had that opportunity. So you know, besides being grateful for my health in a new way, I've also grown, I think, as an artist. Maybe my bank account hasn't, but my soul has.
There you go. When life gives you lemons, you make lemonade, as they say, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, when I saw you last, it was just almost a year after your album came out, Wishes on a Neon Sign, which I found to be just incredible. I think it's one of your best, if not the best. I always hate to judge albums like that, but you know, it really does show the growth that you have accomplished over the years. And as I mentioned, this Saturday you're going to be performing the album in full. That's gonna be fun.
The whole thing. Yes, I still have many copies. But yeah, we decided, you know, doing the live streams. I've been doing live streams just with Craig on upright bass. Any one of those. Wait, I can do backwards. Okay. Any one of those upright basses. And it's been really fun to just to come up with different set lists. We did like a special Halloween set, and then we did a full album live stream of my Hope record. But this record is more challenging. You know, it's a more full band operation. Yeah. So to reimagine it for just bass, dobro, and vocals, it has been fun.
Oh, yeah. I can imagine. I remember when it first came out, I was just so enthralled with the production on it. As you said, it was a full band. I'm used to seeing you almost one-on-one performing or with the trio.
Right.
But yeah, I can imagine where it would provide challenges. Now, Wishes on a Neon Sign was your first solo album in about 7 years. I think your previous one, Hope, came out in, was it 2011?
I
I
think
think.
that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then 2018, early 2018, this one came out.
Yeah.
And it really showed your growth, but it also showed the way you use the dobro. I was so taken by it because dobro, everybody looks at it as an instrument that's bluegrass circles, old timey music,
Right.
and you kind of urbanized it, so to speak, in your music. And the dobro is an instrument that. How long have you been playing that? Did you start that when you were with Red Molly?
I started it actually at the same time as Red Molly. I had gone to a bluegrass festival the week before the fateful Falcon Ridge weekend that we formed Red Molly, and that's when I decided I wanted to play dobro, and I got one during the week in between. They used to be bookends, the Gray Fox Bluegrass Festival and Falcon Ridge, and I got the dobro and put it in the car and got my tent back out and went out to Falcon Ridge, and that's the weekend we started Red Molly, and I barely knew anything about the dobro at all.
Wow.
I basically learned on stage, and I kind of still do.
Well, you've done an incredible job, but I know you're one of the few women dobro players. I mean, there's not a lot. It's always kind of associated with male performers.
Yeah.
Did you have a hard time being accepted by the dobro community?
Oh, not at all. The
No.
dobro community is wonderful. It's funny, like how certain people kind of take on the characteristics of their instrument. Like clarinet players have a certain attitude, and flute players and trumpet players and all that kind of thing. Dobro players are always like, "Well, I'm not very good. I'm not very good." They're very shy and kind of not really show-offy people, and they all the ones I've met just want to help you get better, and they tend to be just more like older, more mature people. So that's just like a comforting small circle that I've been accepted into.
Oh,
And yeah, and when I get to meet the other female dobro players like Cindy Cash Dollar and Sally Van Meter, it's just such a joy. It's like a little magnet.
yeah.
You and those two are incredible musicians. They're just yeah.
But they're obviously a different style. I mean, you've kind of created your own style with this. As I said before, it's on Wishes on a Neon Sign. It's used in ways that I haven't heard dobro used before. That had to be a challenge.
Yeah, I come from a different background. I have a lot of like my dad's a jazz musician, and I do have some bluegrass influence, but that's not the main thing that I listen to. And being in Red Molly, Americana music, we just kind of anything that's a good song. We were more song based.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it has been kind of a challenge to kind of reimagine it and eventually arrange my song so that I can play a full song and have it fill out almost like it's a band, but just with this instrument that it does have some limitations, not like a guitar or a piano where you can play a full really extended chord. That's a little bit harder on dobro. You have to kind of take pieces of chords and imply things.
Well, it's going to be exciting to hear what you and Craig have put together for Saturday to do this album.
Yeah.
This album, there was a lot of collaboration. You did some wonderful songwriting with people like the late David Olney. That was so sad that we lost David last year due to COVID.
I know. He's one of my favorites.
Yeah. How did you meet David?
I met David on tour with Red Molly for sure. And I'm trying to remember if it was in Australia. I know I talked to him in Australia backstage at a folk festival. And I was just smitten with his music and his just like dark, kind of grumpy personality. I mean, he was a very warm person. Right. But he had this external kind of grumpiness that I I don't know why I liked it so much,
Mm.
but
It was
I
very
did.
appealing. The kind of
Yeah.
curmudgeonly, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, but, like, with a good spirit underneath, so,
absolutely.
yeah, he actually reached out to me to start writing, and it took us a while to coordinate that, and hook up a time where I was down in Nashville, but then, I remember going to the first co-write we did, it was with a buddy of his, and, the 3 of us met at this little cabin, and we were writing, and I was just so kind of starstruck, 'cause I looked him up before I went, and I'm like, "Oh, no, he wrote that song for Emmylou Lewis Harris." Not for her, but she
Right.
covered his song, "Looking for the Water from a Deeper Well,"
Mhm.
and I didn't know enough to be nervous around him before that, so after I knew that, I showed up to the co-write, and I was so nervous. I
Aw.
I couldn't believe that they called me again,
Mhm.
like, "Hey, come back tomorrow, we can write another one."
Well,
So
it's a great song. It's, "Empty Suit," I believe it's called. Is that
yes,
yep,
Empty
right.
Suit. Yeah.
So, we'll look forward to hearing you play that on Saturday. So some of the other, artists that were there, Chris Stapleton was
I
also a
know.
co-write.
Yeah, that was amazing. I won a songwriting contest, and the prize was that I got to fly down to Nashville and do this dream co-write. And at the time, they had generally been filling that role with real country Nashville, kind of pop country songwriters. And I was like, "Oh, you got anybody, like, kind of edgier?" Like Tim O'Brien. I love Tim O'Brien, he's great, bluegrass, but he has, like, a blues edge to it, to his
Mm.
bluegrass stuff. Or Daryl Scott, those were 2 of my favorites, and they said, "Well, we can't get those guys, but there's this guy, Chris Stapleton." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I'll do that." So this was years ago before his Grammys, but what a gentleman, and actually, I do have a picture of us writing this song.
Oh, nice.
Um, unfortunately, we can't talk at the same time, so I'll just show it briefly.
Okay.
Um, but let's see if I can do it. Yeah. Well, there
Let's
it
see.
is.
And name of the song that you 2 put together is?
It's called Bad Lever,
Uh-huh.
and it's a ballad basically about not leaving things soon enough, not realizing that, "All right, this is over, time to move on." And I had some pushback from some writer friends saying, "Bad lever, that's not a thing, that's not grammatically correct." But, I don't know. I think anything goes in a song.
Absolutely, it works. One of my favorite cuts on the album is a song that you and, your bandmate Molly Ventnor, put together.
Ah.
When I first heard it, I said, "Wow, is this an old folk song?" I mean, where Cold Black Water, really cool.
Oh, thank
Where did this
you.
one come from? The 2 of you, I guess, when you're on tour, is this where this,
Definitely.
yeah?
Yeah, we were on tour in the Pacific Northwest, and, I had been working on this little dobro riff as sort of like an exercise.
Uh-huh,
And yeah, I was in the Real Women, Real Songs project at the time. And that's something where I had to write a song every week for a whole year. So while I was on tour, I was just scrounging around like, okay, well, I'm messing with this. Molly, what do you got? So we just came up with this story, and it's really inspired by the landscape out there, and just kind of a made up story.
uh-huh. Well,
Yeah.
there's so many wonderful stories on this album. When
Thank
when
you.
you came up with the idea to do this solo album, Wishes on a Neon Dream, as we said before, it was like 7 years after you did Hope.
Mhm.
Was there a specific theme or idea that you wanted to get across on this album, or were these just songs that you've been collecting and
Hmm.
co-writing? Um,
That's a really good question. I think, n I have to look at the CD to really to bring it back. I don't think so. It was more of just a collection of songs, because over 7 years, that's a long time to be writing songs and collecting them. It I remember gathering these together, uh and more actually, and deciding with my producer. This was kind of the first time I had worked with a producer on my own. And, Michael Bellar is the producer.
Mm-hmm.
He's a great piano player and organ. And the reason I picked him really is because he has this great sense of space, and his musicality is just amazing. He's the first time he sat in with me, it was on one of these songs, "What Gives You the Right." It's kind of a jazzy number,
Right.
and he was playing piano and Craig was playing bass, and that was the only instrumentation besides my voice. And it was at Rockwood Music Hall, and he just waited until the right moment to jump in and play. And when he did play, it was this huge chord, and I remember his head just like going back, and he was completely committed to it. But he waited for that moment, and I just thought, wow, that is a really good musical ear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know from doing radio, sometimes it's the space between songs that really gets the message. And it's the same thing with this wonderful album that you put together.
Thank you.
Now we're going to get to the new album, but as you look back on this was recorded. I guess you recorded probably in 2017 because it was released in early 2018.
Yeah.
As you look back, and especially as you're getting ready to do the show on Saturday, do you look at the song and say, "Gee, I wish I did this," or change that? Or, well, I guess now you have the opportunity to do that, right?
I know, it's true. Things have kind of evolved a little bit since then. But my main feeling listening to the record again, I don't know if there's any songwriters listening out there, but they probably know that feeling of making a record and you listen to it so much, and then you never want to hear it again. But since it's been so long, going back and revisiting like these arrangements of the song, not my memory of what they were, is really fascinating for me, because I start hearing things that I didn't hear before. And I hear, hopefully, the way I've grown since then, and the way I can start like rephrasing some things. Particularly the one I wrote with Chris Stapleton, that song I hadn't ever performed before I recorded it. So I think, it's nice to just like live with a song a little bit and try it out on stage before recording. I think that's probably my only thing that I would want to redo.
Well, I guess you have that opportunity Saturday. It's a 3:00 show. Where's it going to be streamed? Is it going to be here on YouTube or Facebook, or?
It's going to be both YouTube and Facebook. I'll put the little, let's see. Excuse me. Woo. So that is the link. I just made a little bit.ly link. That's the YouTube one link, but it'll be both on Facebook and YouTube at 3:00 in the afternoon. So if you have plans before or after, you can still make those. You can get outside or do what you want to do.
And I understand you're going to have a post performance party as well online.
Yes, I seem to have disappeared into an ad for Sony.
Oh, you got me now. Sorry. Are you still? Do we still hear you? Or
I think you can still hear me. Yeah. You know what? Let me just get my trusty assistant, and I'm gonna whoopsie. Oh my goodness.
This is live, folks, as you know. Once again, we're talking with Abbie Gardner, as I'm sure all of you know that, who are tuning in on Facebook or YouTube. And, a wonderful thing about this is Abbie is doing this because of her wonderful Patreon fans. So many artists have had difficulty, obviously, during the pandemic, not touring, not performing, difficult to record albums even, except in their homes. So Abbie has been really counting on the help of all of her wonderful Patreon fans, and she has some incredible offers for everybody who can help donate. So you can go to Abbie's webpage and find out more about that. She does these concerts and interviews like this and other little fun things. So it's really worth helping support the music, keeping the live music going. And we'll be talking to Abbie in a second or two as she gets this her camera back on. Again, we're going to be taking some questions. We have some that her Patreon fans have written down, and I noticed there's a few more coming up in the chat feature. So if anybody has a question for Abbie, please feel free to ask. And as soon as we get this camera back, we will get to some of these questions. Now, this was the album that we're going to hear on Saturday, Wishes on a Neon Sign. That was an album that she recorded during a little hiatus with the Red Molly. They had taken a little break and gave her some time to put this wonderful album together. And she's working on a new album, which we'll talk to her about in a few minutes, that also is taking place during a hiatus, one that we're all going through with this pandemic. And it's going to be exciting. I've been talking to Abbie a little bit about it, and we'll hear some more. Somebody always mentioned let's see, Melanie Groves Campbell just mentioned that she loves the album My Craziest Dream Jazz CD. Oh, that is a fun one. I believe that's the one that she recorded with her father, if I'm not mistaken. And I think I have in my shelves over here. And of course, we all know Abbie from Red Molly. If you're just tuning in and wondering why you're seeing me and not Abbie, you'll see her in a second. You have to put up with this radio face made for radio. But she'll be back on. We're just having a little camera difficulty that we're going to straighten out. And again, for those of you who don't know who I am, you're not alone. I'm Ron Olesko. I'm with WFDU and also folkmusicnotebook.com. Still seeing the imaging. I think I hear Abbie back there. She's working on it.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. You're back. We missed you. We were telling all the secrets while you were away. So everybody, please don't say it.
Sorry about that. That very strange. My camera just shut off.
These things happen. It's live.
Yeah.
We went through.
Thank you. I'm so glad to have a professional DJ here with me.
I was just about to start reading the phone book because I was running out of things to ramble about.
Oh my gosh!
Well, you know what? I want to get to some of these questions from your Patreons because they've asked some really great questions here. So let's go to the first one. This is from Dale and Georgia Troutman. They're asking, do you compose a tune first before the lyrics, or the lyrics first and then put them to music? And what is your usual creative process?
Awesome. I love that. And Dale and Georgia have been really big supporters. So I love answering their questions. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's different every single time. I know so many writers start with the lyrics, but what I love is when the melody comes first. Sometimes it'll be just like a phrase in my head, and then I'll think of what would that phrase sound like, or the other way around. Like I'll get a little melody in my head and think like, what is that? What kind of feeling does that bring out in me? Mm-hmm. So like, let's see what I had an example for this. Oh yeah. Copper Ponies is a song that I wrote because, a friend of mine asked for a band name, and I love naming bands like Red Molly. So
right. Oh, you came up with that name. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, it was a lot of brainstorming, so I can't really take full credit for it, but yeah. So he asked me, and I this is Eric Balke. You guys might know him.
Sure. And
he had a duo for a while, and I was thinking and brainstorming, and I was like, Iron Horse, Copper Ponies. The Copper Ponies. And he ended up using it as his band name. And then I thought, well, I don't want to just use that for someone else's band name. I want to write that song. So that was, it kind of started from the lyrics in that case.
That's a lovely song too. That's the one that ends the album as well.
Yeah.
Well, let's go to another question here. Oh, this is a good one. This is from Andy Dunn. He asks, my question is kind of desert island disc style. Name a book, an album, and a movie that you would take with you.
I love it. Desert island. I had to think about this. I'm glad I got this question ahead of time.
Shh, don't tell the secrets.
Patrons, I love it. Andy Dunn. So Andy, I would bring, all right. So there's a book called Writing Down the Bones. But what is her last name? Oh, Natalie Goldberg. So she's an author that writes about writing.
Right.
And I just love this book. It's in short little chapters. And the reason I would bring it with me on a desert island is because, as the only book, is because each chapter makes me think something different depending on what mood I'm in, and then will spark a different kind of writing from me. So I will get endless songs out of it.
Very good.
And then the album, I think, would be Kelly Joe Phelps' Roll Away the Stone. He is a lap style slide guitar player who sings, and his arrangements are just so great. They seem to be echoing. Sorry about that. His arrangements are so intricate that I could just get more and more out of it every time. And the last one is not quite as cerebral. I like the movie Twister. So I would take that one.
Okay.
I
Now,
don't
of
know.
course, if you're on a desert island, what are you going to watch it on? That's the question.
I know. That's true.
We got to think of that. Well, let's cross that bridge when we get to it, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay, this one is from John McDade. He says, what makes arranging a Dobro Ford album unique? What are the constraints and opportunities? And this kind of leads us into your new project.
Yeah, arranging songs for just solo dobro or, dobro out front is a very different mindset than most dobro players are just kind of sprinkled in at the end as like an added bonus,
Mm-hmm.
in the solos. So I really go from a rhythmic perspective first. I look at the song and try to figure out what kind of mood do I want to create with the rhythm. So is it like an old school style, or is it more of a groove song, or do I want just like a lot of space, and do I want it kind of open and more chordal sounding? So that's kind of how I start, and then filling it in, and just the decision of where to put space and where to build it up and how to build it up with just two elements, just the dobro and the voice. It's keeping me busy all year long.
Mm-hmm.
That and Criminal Minds, watching the entire show, 15 seasons. We just finished.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was quite an accomplishment. But yeah, it's been really interesting because, like I said, the dobro, you can't always play a full chord. So I'm playing pieces of chords and kind of trusting the listener to fill in the other pieces.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also have to watch of where is my vocal line, and I shouldn't be playing my vocal line. I mean, that's in general, even with a band, but especially when it's just the dobro and the voice, I
Mm-hmm.
need to cover a lot of ground. I need to pick a different note on one of them. So it's really interesting being like, I'm the whole band and I'm the singer all at once.
So the new album that you're working on is that's all it's going to be? You and the dobro? Any other instruments or
Yeah.
just?
No
Wow,
other instruments, and I'm
nice.
not doing overdubs either. I'm not adding like layers of dobro
Uh-huh.
or doing any kind of looping or anything like that. It's really just, it's meant to be an intimate record where I'm in the living room with you. You put the record on and it's, here I am with my dobro, and it's just exactly how I sound.
Oh,
Um,
I
yeah,
love it
which is,
already. I love it already.
it's a little scary because there's nowhere to hide,
Yeah.
It's just, okay, well, this is really what my voice sounds like, and this is really how I can play in time while I'm singing. So sometimes I have to simplify, but
Right.
yeah, it's good.
Well, I remember the last I saw you at Ethical Brew. I think you did a couple of the songs that you were working on at that time. So,
Mhm.
it's going to be exciting. I can't wait. Any idea about when it might be coming out? Or I know we
Yeah.
had one of the questions from one of your patrons there asked that as well.
Yeah. Um, oh yeah, Leslie. I wanted it to be out in June, but it's really still not done yet. And it's one of those things that's hard to control when it comes out. It'll be done when it's done. It's sort of like a cake, where in somebody else's oven. I don't know how long it's gonna take.
Oh, I love that. It's done when it's done. That's right. You
Yeah.
don't want to rush it. You want it to be the way you want it to sound.
Well, once it's on the disc, that's it. That's the record of those performances. Yeah.
I was saying when you were working on your microphone or your camera issue before,
Yeah,
um, "Wishes on a Neon Sign" came out when you were kind of on hiatus from Red Molly,
right.
and now you're on sort of another forced hiatus with everything through the pandemic, and so now you're
Yeah.
working on this new album. Is that what it's going to take to get solo albums from you in the future, or you need a hiatus or a pandemic or something?
I don't think so. Actually, now that I'm totally set up, I have the tiniest studio closet you would ever see. I don't even, I have to like tack things to the walls. Like my pen holder is against the wall. Um, so now I'm like set up to record more often. And I know one of my patrons, Dan Hulse, was asking me the advice I would give my younger musical self. And I was thinking about it earlier, the ability to record and kind of um, practice hearing myself in a recording device. This morning, I was practicing singing into a mic and then listening back to exactly what it sounds like. Now I don't have to go into a studio for that experience, and I get to learn right away. Oh, like I got to fix that little note, or this is how I sound. So I think I'll get, I'm able to record at home.
Sure.
So I
And
think
on your
I'll
schedule too. You don't have to book time. You're okay. 3 in the
exactly.
morning. Woke up. I'm gonna work on something, right?
Exactly. I mean, that means it could go on forever, but but I'm
Well,
gonna try not to let it do that.
please don't, because I want to play the new one on the radio. So
Yes.
let's get to some more
Good.
questions.
Yeah.
Dan Hulse, he asked, "What advice would you give to your younger self, especially around a career in music?"
Right. Yeah, so the besides recording myself early and listening to really what I sound like, not waiting until I make another record to find that out, I think I would try to tell my younger musical self um to remember that it's not there's no destination necessarily. You always feel like you're practicing for something, like, oh, the next gig or the next recording, or then, when this comes out, then I'll be whatever, fill in the blank, your image of yourself. I think letting that go earlier would be good. I
Hmm.
think for my younger self, just enjoying, like, okay, well, now I'm working on this stuff, and this is perfect, like right where I am with all the mistakes and everything. It's just like this experience is really the valuable thing. I mean, it sounds a little cliche, like enjoy the journey, not the destination, but it's true.
Well, your father was or is a wonderful musician. Did he give you
Yeah.
similar advice when you were starting out?
uh I don't think so, no.
Did he tell you to
uh,
avoid it? Oh, you don't want to do this or no?
no, I mean,
He
he
was
didn't
supportive.
really give me that much advice business wise, except like, his example was the biggest advice, that he just
Sure.
really enjoyed going to work,
Yeah.
going out and playing and gigging and just seeing his friends and making music and having it be different every time.
Somebody in the chat room mentioned that wonderful album that you did, My Craziest Dream. That was with your father,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And he's doing live jazz lunch concerts with my sister pretty much every weekend day
Uh-huh.
at like quarter to 12, I believe. Yeah, on Facebook. So it's fun. He's still doing gigs, even if they're just live streams.
It's all in the family, right? uh, Speaking of families, when you go to shows, I mean, I think especially I've seen it at Red Molly shows. It does feel like family. I've gone to a number of the shows. You see some of the same faces, always just loving the music. Well, one of our family, or one of your family, Christopher D, asked a question. What's your favorite thing a fan has said to you after a show?
Oh, yeah. Well, I love when people there's two things actually. The first thing is when someone comes up and says, my friend dragged me here. I didn't know who you were, but I love this music, cuz I just feel like they have no reason. They don't have any obligation to say hello or have enjoyed the concert, but to have a stranger come up and say, I didn't know this was going to be good. I love when that happens. And the other thing is when I can make people cry. It's not that I want to hurt them. I just feel like it's great when music can just release something. I think it's one of the best things about music.
You have such a good rapport with your audience. I mean, I remember watching you at Ethical Brew. Uh, it's a small room to begin with, but yet you make it feel like it's a one-on-one experience, and that's something I imagine you've learned over time. It's not easy to do, but you do it so well.
Thank you, Ron. I really appreciate that. It's funny. I'm actually a pretty shy person. If I went to a party, I wouldn't be right in the middle of everything. But there's something about being on stage and being performing. I feel like, oh, well, it's my time to connect. I feel like the quiet of the room really brings out, more of my personality somehow.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just got a couple other questions here. This is from John Akahoshi. Now, this is a really interesting question. Imagine you are George Bailey in It's a Wonderful Life. Who is your Clarence? And for those of you who don't remember Wonderful Life, Clarence was the angel that came down to save George Bailey. Who is your Clarence?
The guardian angel. I think I have a few. I'm so lucky to have so many great friends and supporters out there. Michael Urbano comes to mind. He's been following my career for so long, and I remember he sent me a little flower basket when I had foot surgery once, and he actually has my first dobro. The first dobro I ever learned to play on is hanging on his wall, and I'm allowed to go visit it anytime I want to. So supporters like that are amazing. And then there's two ladies out there. Brenda Worth is somebody I've known for a long time. George Worth's wife. She runs house concerts, and she has saved me in many different ways over the years. She's one of those people that is like the spoke of a wheel, she kind of reaches everybody. And also a friend of mine, Heidi Shirk out in Arizona, is also just, I consider her my fairy godmother.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah.
I want to show you something. You mentioned hanging on the wall. Give me 2 seconds here.
Yeah. Nice. Now we get to see what's behind your camera.
This is something I've got hanging on my wall. It was taken at the Hurdy-Gurdy.
Yay!
Back when the first time Red Molly played at our venue in Fairlawn, our photographer Brian Johnson took it. I just thought that it's maybe hard to see on camera like this, but I always thought that was such an evocative photo. The three of you on stage. It's Carol Ann Solabello, the original member, and Laurie McAllister, of course. And so I've got that hanging on my wall here with a few other photos of people that have meant so much to me. So
that's so great. Thanks, Ron.
Well, I'm going to ask another question from one of our listeners, viewers. I'm sorry, I'm saying listeners because I'm so used to radio. Yeah. Where did it go now? Oh, Bill Jonikin. What do Abbie and Craig do for fun when not playing music?
When not playing music. Well, I already told you the Criminal Minds. We finished this season, and that was over 300 episodes. Unbelievable. Let's see. What else do we do? We love going hiking, actually, when we're not playing music. I just love getting in the woods and just getting near the trees and away from the sounds of the city.
I know another thing you did. You the two of you did a lot of work on your home that you worked. I remember seeing some wonderful photos of you constructing this. That was a project.
Exactly, a bunch of videos of Craig bashing into walls, and it's kind of a reality show in some ways. It's endless. When you have a home, the renovations. We're hoping to do some more, but we'll see.
It looks lovely from what we're seeing here tonight.
Thank you.
Bill also had one other question, which I think is probably on a lot of our minds. Any Red Molly group or individual plans west of the Mississippi in the foreseeable future? Now, obviously, we've got COVID, so nobody knows what the future is. But what are your thoughts for you as an individual and also as the group?
Right. I don't believe, I mean, it's hard to speak for the other ladies. From what I know, the band and the three of us don't have plans to go west too far in the future. So, yeah, we're kind of sticking close to home and just deciding,
Uh-huh.
not too far out in the future, that
Right.
kind of thing. I do have some gigs this summer in person, safely in person. They have assured me. So I'm going to be playing the Virginia Arts Festival in June, and then in July I get to play in Morristown, New Jersey, and then two other places. I have like a little tour over a weekend. So Stamford, Connecticut, and um, Knoxville, Pennsylvania.
Oh,
Yeah.
Knox. I didn't know there was a Knoxville in Pennsylvania.
I didn't either, but I get to go, so that'll be
Right.
fun. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure that once things get better, there'll be a lot more performances and gigs scheduled.
Yeah, I hope
Um,
so.
Now, I know a lot of people have been doing a lot of work online. I know you have. You've been doing, what are the monthly concerts that you've been doing?
Yeah, I mean, Craig and I started out doing more like weekly concerts, and then we had to cut back and realize,
Sure.
yeah, there's other things. So I do monthly Patreon concerts for sure, and then when I can, depending on the schedule and getting this record done,
Hmm.
do live stream shows with Craig, kind of more full ones on Facebook and YouTube, and those are super fun. So I'm really
Yeah.
looking forward to Saturday.
Well, there's a question here which might open up some new business for you. Kevin
Yeah.
Asbury asks, do you have any online dobro lessons?
Oh, actually, yeah, I do.
Oh,
I On my YouTube page, I have a bunch of free lessons, and if you email me or join my email list, I can send you the free tab that goes with each one of those lessons. It's been really fun. I've been making them in my backyard,
uh-huh.
in front of this green shed, and it's a very live experience. But those are up there, and I think I'm going to start doing some either classes or one-on-one lessons as well, so they can check out my website for that. This would be a good time for me to have that all ready to go, streaming across the bottom of the thing, but I don't. It's okay. You
Well,
can
it's
guess what my website is. It's abbiegardner.com.
easy to remember.
There you go.
Well, I think that's about all the questions. I don't know if I missed any. I apologize if I
Awesome.
have. I think we've covered
I
most of the
think we
questions.
got it. Well, if anybody wants to put any last questions in there, I did want to give a little plug for the folk music
Oh
notebook.
yes, I've heard of them.
Yes,
uh,
yes, a 24-hour, 7 days a week. It is a folk festival online, and you must have lots of DJs. It's not just you, Ron, right? Because that
it's not.
sounds
We
okay.
we basically have a 24/7, as you mentioned, and every evening we have different program hosts from around the country. We have shows like the Midnight Special, hosted by Marilyn Ray Beyer. We have Folk Stage, also from WFMT. We do Michael Jonathan's Wood Songs Old Time Radio Hour, and we have a couple of
Awesome.
original shows. James Lee Stanley does a wonderful show called Another Radio Show. It's every Tuesday night.
Yeah.
And what's today? Today's Monday. Okay. We have Sing Out Radio Magazine. Um, we also have a mutual friend, Gordon Nash. Gordon does a show
Oh,
for us now called Gord's Gold. That's also on Tuesday nights. So
yeah. Awesome.
I know Gordon is a huge Red Molly fan and a supporter of
He is.
just about everybody in folk music.
Yeah, Gordon's great. He just shows up to so many shows, that at one point Red Molly made him a theme song because we
Hmm.
figured he should have one. But it does take 3 people to do it.
Yeah.
So
He's actually used that on the air. We've played
Oh,
that. Yeah.
God. Awesome.
Uh,
Yay.
well, listen, Abbie, it's been a lot of fun being with you tonight, and I
You
am looking
too,
forward to
Ron.
Saturday. Now, tell us
Me
again. This
too.
is Saturday, which is May
Mhm.
22nd. Oh, there's all the information right there.
Yeah, let me get this other
3
thing.
p.m. show. And again, where do we go? To your website, to YouTube, Facebook?
Yeah, you can just go to my Facebook page or my YouTube page. Just where you're watching right now, actually, is where you can see it on Saturday.
Hmm.
And and my patrons, if you want to join my Patreon page, that is the best way to find all the behind the scenes. And also, all my patrons are invited to an after party on Zoom. So that'll be super fun also.
That's wonderful. The Patreon and tip jars that everybody is using these days have been so important. I know we've done it for Folk Music Notebook, and it just shows what a wonderful community we have that support all of you wonderful artists and these events. We are a community, and I think it keeps us all going. I guess it's probably a new world for you during this pandemic, and I guess it's really warming to see all these folks coming up and helping out and keeping the music alive.
Yeah, the Patreon, Ellis Paul and Seth Clear were trying to talk me into it years ago. And I was like, no, nobody's going to join who's going to join my Patreon? Nobody knows who I am. But when the pandemic hit, I was inspired to do it. And it's very different from what I thought. I thought it was going to be, sort of like, please help me, kind of begging, kind of that kind of thing, which I didn't want that relationship with my fans, but it's really turned into a very different thing. There's so much these days in music that is not valued. Some of the online streaming services, and you can't make a living that way. So Patreon has really shifted things in a way to make it monetizes the creative side of things, just the weekly showing up and writing new songs and the behind the scenes work that it takes to make a record or to go on tour or to make a fully produced video of your song. So Patreon, by monetizing that, it's just like putting importance and value back on the creative side, which I don't know any other system that does that just values that so much. And so it's actually changed my perception of it. Like, oh wait, this is really good stuff. I'm not just wasting my time. I'm practicing really hard, and then I can share it with my patrons. And then I'm also just like inching closer and closer with those daily habits towards, the musician I want to be.
Yeah. Well, you're doing it all. And I guess one last question before we leave. The pandemic, there's signs that we may be turning the corner, that things will get better in the future. As you look back on this past year and the challenges it's put to you, what have you learned personally and as a musician and a songwriter?
Oh, wow. That's a big question. What have I learned? I mean, besides all the tricks with video and, well, some of them, video and lighting and editing, I think all of us just stepping back from the things we thought were so important, that, well, I have to go on tour. I have to fly here. I have to do this. I have to, fill in the blank of I have to go see this person. I have to travel. Just being forced not to do any of it was really a learning experience, especially for me. I think just being forced to slow down. It's good.
Well, it doesn't seem like you've slowed down because you continue to give us music.
I fight it every way.
And we're all looking forward to seeing you again. It's this Saturday, 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. The full album of Wishes on a Neon Star. It'll be Abbie and Craig, and I'm looking forward to this one. 3 p.m. and there's an after party. So I hope everybody who's watching now will check it out and continue to support Abbie. And Abbie, thank you so much for inviting me to sit here and talk with you tonight. And I look forward to having more great music to play on Folk Music Notebook and WFDU.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ron, for all you've been doing.
Thank you. And thank you all for watching. We'll see you soon.
Bye.